Warm greetings, Code Monkeys and fellow VEDSies, and welcome back to CodedLockFilms. Last year, one of the questions that I got for my Q&A video ended up being a question that I felt was worthy of its own separate video, and that has happened again this year, so I am doing that now. The other Q&A videos will come a little bit later, but this one is from Mystic Destroyer 13, who writes, "How did you and Matt Guyan first meet? Did you expect a beautiful bromance to arise out of it?" I just have to start off by saying that I can't stand the term bromance, but to each their own, I suppose. It's actually very hard for me to define when Matt and I first met, because the word met is a very unusual one when it comes to the story of how we became friends. Because if you want to get technical about it, the first time I ever encountered Matt was in a very peripheral way. We were both in the Bowling Green State University men's chorus, but we never really interacted as a result of that. And it wasn't really until I later came across his videos that I started to interact with him. I believe it was his sister Cassie that first introduced me to his videos, and it was actually the Vlog Driver channel at that time, if I recall correctly, that she introduced me to. And from there I discovered BangGeek8408 and, at the time, Shiny Happy Vloggy People. But even then, though I knew he was this guy that I vaguely recognized from the BGMC, and though I knew that he was a person whose content I found really interesting, and though I knew he was related to Cassie, a person for whom I held very great respect, and still do for that matter, we still didn't really interact beyond me commenting on his videos and him commenting on mine. Is that a fingerprint on my lens? That is a fingerprint on my lens. Hold on, I gotta get rid of that. There we go. That's better. Man, where was I? So then the second year of VEDS came along in 2010, and we started to be in more direct contact as a result of that, which eventually culminated in what I believe was our first major in-person interaction in the form of our positive pranking videos from the end of VEDS that year. Also during VEDS that year, Matt asked me if I would like to collaborate on a books versus movies review with him, which was still a pretty young series at the time. And so together we created the V for Vendetta books versus movies review, which was then eventually released on the 5th of November of 2010. But ultimately, I think what really cemented our friendship was two particular things. The first of these things was the Twilight books versus movies review, which was my first experience with Matt's social circle, as it were. And it was a ton of fun to do, of course, but there was one particular aspect of that review that really impacted me in a way that I don't think even Matt knows about, but you're about to. In the original script for that review, Matt had basically written out that at the end of the 4th round, which was my round imagery, I would run off to the Benny Hill music, we would do a little Benny Hill gag, and that's how we would get Hatter and regular Matt back into their respective reviewing spaces to finish that review. I, however, was concerned that we were overusing the Benny Hill gag in that video and thought we ought to do something different. But the problem is we got the completed script basically a day before we were due to start filming it. So I said to Matt, if you're okay with this, I will volunteer to write a short segment to go in between the 4th and 5th rounds of that review. I will script the whole thing, I will shoot it, I will edit it, and I will get it to you completed, so you basically just have to take it and plop it down in between two other chunks of edited content. And his response was basically, go for it. And to him, maybe that was just a good way for him to have to do less work. But for me, in that moment, he had demonstrated that he trusted me to write for his characters in his voice for what was not only his flagship review series, but also a particularly special episode of that series. And that really meant a lot to me, not only as a creative person, but as somebody who, at the time, was aspiring to be more like him in the way that I approached critique and analysis. So that was one of those things. And the other one was toward the tail end of VEDS 2011, where I came back down to BG from Illinois and spent a span of several days in Matt's apartment, during which time we filmed VEDS videos, we did reviews together, just hung out when the time permitted. And not only had he opened his home to me, a guy who, at the time, he hadn't spent a lot of IRL time with. He actually trusted me enough to leave me alone in that apartment when he had to go off and do work and other various things. And the other thing that struck me was just how easy it all felt. How even though the quantity of time that we had together was relatively short, the quality of that time was absolutely top-notch. And of course, we have continued to be friends. I was one of Matt's groomsmen when he and Alicia were married in a wonderfully beautiful ceremony, and life goes forward. And I think what ultimately makes our friendship work is that Matt and I are true kindred spirits. Our tastes line up just enough to have provided us with a lot of similar or shared experiences, but our tastes are different enough that we can still have interesting discussions about basically anything. And at the same time, we are of the same mindset on a great many things. Particularly the notion that applying your fullest intellectual rigor to everything you encounter is never a waste of time. We share similar values when it comes to media and storytelling. We have great professional and personal respect for one another. And perhaps most importantly, we never judge one another for our areas of ignorance. I've stated many times that I know nothing about musical theory, the history of music, things like that. And I've never been made to feel like an idiot because of it, because he never dumbs things down for fear that I might not understand them. We are able to poke fun at each other in a way that has never felt mean, which I think is important for any friendship. In fact, a long time ago, when Matt hit 2,000 subscribers, myself, Alicia, Cassie, and Jeffrey put together a roast, and his response to that roast was just phenomenal. I could go on, I suppose, but I feel like I've probably gone on long enough. So I'll just say in response to the original question that no, I did not expect that such a relationship would evolve from knowing Matt, but it has been one of the most important friendships of my life. It has had a profound impact upon me as a human being. I would not be the same person that I am today had I not known Matt, and I am grateful every day for the privilege of knowing him. And yeah, there it is. This video is a little heavier than I expected it to be going into it, but I hope that I have answered your question in a satisfying way. Thank you for asking it. But yeah, until next time, Code Monkeys and fellow VEDSies, I will see you tomorrow.